Radio then. um, Welcome back to Friday Evening Trains. It is Friday, which means it is time to play some trains. Yes. Da 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 da. Yeah, not a whole lot to say today. So we're just going to jump right in with our first scenario. Excuse me. We're going to be on the Steam version of the Just Trains Newcastle to Edinburgh route, and we're going to be finishing our run from London to Edinburgh with the whole way down part 4. We've been running the first 3 parts over the last few weeks, and so finally it's time to wrap up this fairly long journey. So after a long layover at Newcastle, you will finish the run to Edinburgh Waverley. You have a stop at Berwick-upon-Tweed along the way. As far as announcements go, excuse me. Not too much. I think it's the. Ooh, that's a nice one. I think it's the Salzburg to Rosenheim route was released today. So if you're a fan of Austrian trains, might be something worth checking out. Try me, Twix. Yeah, would be worth checking that out. Although I've heard some iffy things about the quality of RSS Load DLC, so but I can't comment on it personally. All right, driver, let's open up these doors. Departure time is 9:47. As usual, get our AWS self-test, and then pull cursor back. Cursor back. Who's a beautiful man, Twix? So yeah, can't speak personally to the quality of RSS low routes. I'm not huge on mainland Europe trains. Nothing specific. It's just not something I've been interested in since I've started playing Train Simulator. Certainly not as much as British trains. So, but there are sources on YouTube you can reference. So, what we're driving, Twix? No, we're not. We're driving an electric train. Oh boy. But yeah, there are people who are much more knowledgeable about these things than I am. So. I do know the. What else to say on that? Oh, that woman just phased through a column. That's nice. I do quite like the Newcastle to Edinburgh route. I think I've run it like 3 times now. Which I believe encompasses every scenario I have made for it at this point. So, yeah. Hopefully we'll calm it down a little bit now. But on the other hand, maybe not. Excuse me. I don't know what's up with my throat today. Right, let's finish this off. I think that walk did me good. Not getting any deja vu feeling. Next stop is Berwick-upon-Tweed. Arrival time is 10:29. The usual God. The usual substitution disclaimers apply. Sex car class 158s in TPE livery substituting for 802s. I think we'll encounter at least one um, on our run, and potentially a static one at Edinburgh, um, where there also might be a 3-car one in place of a class 185. So, diverging off to the right is the line that allows you to either loop back around towards Tyne Yard in the south, or continue down towards Sunderland, uh, Nunthorpe, and Seaham. Get close to the speed limit here. Go ahead and set the speed set to 40. We're now coming up on Manners Station. This is Pilgrim Street Junction, according to the sign. Speed limit's now going up to 85. On the far right is a short section of the Tyne and Wear Metro. Light rail operator in the Newcastle area that actually shares a stretch of excuse me, of the line between Newcastle and Sunderland, between Sunderland and I think it's Pala Junction, not sure how to pronounce that, but for services to oh, I can't remember, but yeah. Speed limit's now going up to 100. Oop, that's 105. Is that just a British thing then, Code Monkey, being able to phase through columns? Because if it is, I'm kind of jealous. On the right is Heaton Traction and Rolling Stock Maintenance Depot, I believe. I know it's called Heaton, but I can't remember if it's a TNRSMD. I'm pretty sure it is. We're also passing the goods loops. As evidenced by the goods train. So I have some excellent track work. No, the network is not healthy. I don't know what its problem is. Did this last week too. Speed limit going up to 110. And I'm going to pause it and see what the dealio is. Oh, I have a Windows key now. I forgot. It's on the right network. I don't know what its problem is. All right. I'm going to disconnect the network and reconnect it, and hopefully that fix it. So I will lose you all for a moment, but I am recording, so we will have continuity in the VOD. Very important. All right, let's see. Hopefully that takes care of it. Nope, nope. What is your problem? All right, let me switch to a different network, and hopefully that improves things. All right, good. It's unhappy. I think we're back. Maybe it's thinking. Ooh. Much better. All right, now we just need to get back. Shoot, come on. Now, yeah, no shit, it's experiencing issues. Minor issues. Issues. All right, let's switch back. My location is currently in use by what? We're going to turn that off. All right, switch back to the original network. Yeah, I know you're unhappy. Oh, God. For the last 2 minutes. I haven't even been barely connected to a network for the last 2 minutes. Get out of here. Come on. You can do it. I believe in you. Yeah, I know the stream is disconnected. Maybe you could, like, reconnect. Oh, maybe? Hey! Oh, God. Yeah, that's nice. Well, it is most definitely not happy. And doesn't look like there's a whole lot I can do, so we will have to power through for now, and hopefully it sorts itself out. Yeah, I don't know why it's so unhappy. All right, well, we'll just have to muster through. Hey Jessica. The network is quite unhappy tonight, and unfortunately, kicking it on um from the command center here is not helping. So router probably needs a restart. In all honesty. Uh, oh man. Is it too much to ask it to get reliable internet? All right. What we're gonna do is we're going to take a quick timeout, reboot the router, and hopefully that fixes everything. So I will be back. All right. Take 4. Yes. All right. Let's drop in a few, but that might be normal, and it's not very many. See how much. I've left it here for like 2 minutes, and it seems okay. I kicked the router, kicked the stream, which I forgot also kicks the recording. So I will have to stitch this together in post, but it shouldn't take, or it shouldn't be very hard. So it seems to be happy for now. So hopefully we can continue rolling on. So, well, I guess keep me posted in the chat. It felt good. Sometimes things just need a good kick. So, all right. Resuming our previous programming as scheduled. Yes, I've always liked the phrase percussive maintenance. That is a good one. Exactly. Also, couldn't tell you the last time it got it got rebooted, so it was probably long overdue. Technology is a fickle mistress. Well, I don't have BNSF issued boots, Jessica, but I do nor are they steel toe, but I do have composite toe from Duluth Trading Company that are quite comfortable. I don't know what station this is. It's not Chet Hill. It's Cramlington. Yeah, I wore those for the couple summers I worked construction. Obviously, being around heavy equipment, steel-toed boots were a requirement. Amazingly enough. I don't know, Twix. I haven't tried to brake yet. I'll let you know in 56 miles. Sooner than that, we're going to have a speed limit drop, or several. Certainly, when we get to Morpeth. Did we already pass? I think we might have already passed the junction to the Bedlington branch. We did! Right after Heaton. It's probably distracted by network issues. Not on my end, Code Monkey. Or at least not very much. It's creeping up. Yep. Morpeth board warning for an upcoming 50 for the curve at Morpeth. I did not hear what happened with 301 Jessica. What is the scoop? Alright, we do indeed have brakes. Just drop the speed set down to 70. Nope, not 75. Not 65. There we go. And I will also madly increase the braking because I was worried about the speed set and not slowing down for this curve. A curve which is only, infamous for its derailments. Alright, we're fine. Somebody probably has coffee spilled all over himself in the buffet car, but we're fine. Don't believe what it says on the HUD. This is not a 125-mile-an-hour curve. If you go 125 through this curve, you do so at your own risk. Diverging off to the right is the northern end of the Bedlington branch, which left us just north of Heaton, and gives access to Lynmouth Power Station, North Blythe Docks, and at least one other place of note that I can't remember. Speed us back up to 70. The North Chord is also joining back in on the right. I think in the past this was a shortcut for loaded coal trains bound north, so that they wouldn't spend as much time clogging up the ECML with their slowness, as it were. I think that goes back to my original point of them putting it on the Empire Builder when the first run of Chargers failed last time we had a polar vortex, and failed rather miserably. I think it wasn't even a polar vortex, they just got cold, because, it's a semi-open design, if you look at them. Minor issues. How minor is minor? 25%. Oh, no, because we're above 30. Son of a gun. Ugh. We're now passing Pegswood Station. Alright, well, at this point, I'm going to blame Spectrum because there's nothing else I can do on my end. Spin limits up to 110. Oh dear, that's not good. Of all things, I think the PTC would be independent of, actual onboard train systems. Although it's possible it's something weird to do with maybe the braking system or just some of the onboard technologies. Because you would think, although you would think they'd be fairly similar in scope to the SC44s, and those should all those should all have PTC. Passing Butterwell Junction, with the line 2 somewhere heading off to the right. I don't know where somewhere is, but it's somewhere. Speed limit is dropping to 105, and then beyond that to 100. So we'll see if friction's going to do its job. It is not. I did drop the speed set down to 100, so. Let it coast down to there. And it is just barely going to make it. This is Widrington. I did see that they ordered 50 more. Well, if it's a PTC issue, I'm sure it's correctable. I forget what sightings these are. Oh, these are the Widrington sightings. Makes sense. Speed limit's back up to 110. And honestly, if PTC problems are the worst things these locomotives have on entering service, I think that's a win. I think they pretty much got them worked out on the SC-44s. At least over here, they've been doing the regular duty pretty much all winter. At the very least, I haven't personally witnessed any P-42s up here, nor have I seen any reports of them, so. And you would hope Siemens, applied whatever knowledge they learned with the SC-44, the SC-44s to the ALC-42s, so. This is Acklington. Passing the Morpeth board for the upcoming 85 limit. It is going back up to 110 shortly after, so I'm not going to adjust the speed set. Hopefully use the braking to get down in time, which we're not going to quite do. Oh well. Speed limit is back up to 110. Speed limit is dropping to 95 and then to 85. Got the speed set to 95 because it is going back up to 95 after the drop. And then actually back up to 120. This, this is Ulmith. Ulmith. Speed limit is back up to 95. And now back up to 120. We are slowly accelerating, but we're on an uphill 1 in 170. So it is holding us back just a touch. Speed limit is going up to 125. Speed limit's dropping to 110. Nailed it. Speed limit's going back up to 125. I believe this is Chat Hill Station now. Yep. So Chat Hill marks the far northern end of um, Northern Rail's operating region. And once we get to Dunbar, we will be firmly in ScotRail operating territory. But between here and Dunbar, it's pretty much just currently LNER, um, cross country, and I guess now also the new Lumo um, service. Although I'm not totally sure how it's operationally distinct from LNER, considering it's London to Edinburgh service. Yeah, we got actual speed limits on this stretch, Twix. We are schmovin'. This is what it's like when your country has competent passenger rail infrastructure. I'm jealous. Just send a video of a high-speed British train to the U.S. government. This could be us, but you playing. More competent than the U.S. is, that's for sure. Although, granted, that's not a high bar. That's all right, Code Monkey. It's still having problems on my end. I've elected to blame Spectrum, who is my ISP. So come to think of it, the internet was a little slow on my phone when I got home from work. So now 11 and a half miles from Berwick upon Tweed. On the very far right, you can see the North Sea coast. The speed limit is dropping to 115. But it will be going back up to 125 here very shortly. And we're back up to 125. What's up, Ned? Down to 115. The speed limit is further dropping down to an unmarked 100 before continuing to drop down to 95 and then 75. I swear the sign said 95. And then finally dropping down to 70 as we cross the Royal Border Bridge. And come into Berwick upon Tweed. In fact, we are crossing the River Tweed, or quite possibly the Tweed estuary. We're coming in a little hot, but it's fine. Get it just about right. Eh. Had me scared for a second. Are we gonna do that thing where you only open the doors on like one coach? Oh, I guess only first class passengers get to get off here at Berwick upon Tweed. Everyone else has to go all the way up to Edinburgh. Why is that, Code Monkey? While we're doing that, we can admire the Royal Border Bridge. I think it's one of the longest stone arch structures in the world. And I forget how many millions of bricks it uses. There you go, Twix. I like that. First class or no class. Obviously, it doesn't quite do justice to the real life thing. Not that I would know, but I'd imagine it's a much more impressive structure in real life. Still jobless then, Twix? That's tough. That accounting job not work out, or have you not heard back yet? Why is the DVT making so much noise? Alright, we're on the last lap. Next, and final, stop is Edinburgh Waverley. Arrival time is 11:12. Speed limit is currently 75. But you said it was... Oh, no, no. Just can't decide what it wants to do. Speed limit is up ahead going up to 95, but we'll be dropping back down to 90. So I'll just adjust the speed limit, speed set up to 90 for now. Okay. Yeah, no. I see what you're coming from, Code Monkey. It is definitely some rough track work. Although it does have some super elevations, so you can definitely tell on like the Morpeth curve. It's got it, so. They're like right here. Speed limit is back up to 95. And now we are doing some real running along the North Sea coast here. Very scenic bit. One of my favorites. Once we pass through this cut. Oh no, it's at 10 o'clock. Wow. Speed limit is dropping to 80. Back up to 95. And I'm fairly certain it's quite some time ago we passed the official border sign. So we are in Scotland now. There you go, Code Monkey. You see, you're not as far behind now either. Part of the problem is there's no identifiable point like there is on the West Coast Main Line because Gretna Junction is right there at the border. Um, but here it's just a sign and it's parallel to the tracks, so at 90 miles an hour you can't really see it. Speed limit is dropping back down to 90. I need to apply some brakes on my own. Just to get it down. Yeah, it seems to have sorted itself out on my end. Knock on wood. Um, dropping further to 85. Well, yeah, there are signs there too, but um, I guess my point is from a driver's perspective, um, Gretna Junction is a much more obvious landmark. Um, well, yeah, and the bridge. Oh, there, I think we just passed the London 350 miles sign, which is much more obvious than the border sign. Yep. So you're 350 miles from London, but only 42 and a half from our destination. And I forgot to reduce the speed set. There we go. It'll sort itself out. Random 125-mile-an-hour speed limit. And the speed limit is dropping further down to 70. The 91 speed set took care of downhills. Apparently not. No matter, the speed limit's up to 85 and is going back up to 90. Shut off the power. We're going to have to do a little bit of braking just to keep the speed under control. As we descend a 1 in 99. Now a 1 in 86. Now back up to a 1 in 98. Pretending like the West Coast main line isn't even worse. Or at least just as bad. Besides which, the East Coasters don't have your nice tilty trains that you have on the West Coast there, Code Monkey, so there is that. The grid seems to have flattened out here. I forgot my speed set is still at 90, but whatever. Speed limit is going back up to 105. Finally getting some real speed limits back up in here. I have been too confined. And we're back up to 125. Oops. $33 1/3 miles to go to Edinburgh now. On the right are Torness nuclear power sightings. The speed set to 110. We do have a 105 up here. On the left is Oxwell Main's Cement Works. Oh, come on. Probably help if I turn off the power. Speed limit is going back up to 110. We do have an upcoming 85 to consider. But not for a hot second. Alright, now we should consider it. Drop that to 85. This is for the curve as we pass Dunbar Station. Which is right here. With a lovely ScotRail EMU waiting to head back towards Edinburgh. Speed limit is going back up to 110. Oop. Yeah, I know the 385 is much more of much more ScotRail's electric workhorse, especially in and out of Edinburgh. I think they get more work on like the Irish or coast route. The 380s do. But I could be wrong. Ah, I mean that makes sense. That's funny. I had one of the times I took the train from Michigan to Chicago, or actually it was the other way around. I took it back from Chicago to Michigan. Most of the engineers that work the Amtrak Michigan line are perfectly fine. They handle trains perfectly well. This one engineer I had seemed to be bound and determined to like slam on the brakes and then like whip it into max throttle because you'd get this unholy lurch every time we started off from a station. And you'd practically get thrown into the seat ahead of you when he braked for a station. It was quite the experience. Yeah, exactly. Make sure passengers are awake so they don't miss their stops. So, speed limit is going back up to 110. Speed limit is back up to 125, but I want to watch the trains. So. It is dropping back down to 115. Why does it insist on jumping like 20 miles at a time? I swear. Nope. 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 There we go. So I'm back up in just a second. The line from the right that has just joined us is the line from North Berwick. And we are coming up on Drem Station. Yeah, I think because PTG uses the AP91 in his Edinburgh to London video. So that is a nice feature, I guess would be the word. Having, properly working on-train systems. You always like to see that. Another wonky short 105. It's going back up to 110. It's not so much an issue of it. It's just the fact that if you use the keybinds, which are Y and C, you can't get precise 5 mile-an-hour increments, which I guess is, I assume, you were talking about Kabuki. Jessica, as far as Liverpool and Manchester is concerned, unless you're talking about it, yes, in its original configuration, we do have a Liverpool to Manchester route that is set in the 80s, I think. At least the stock is. But yeah, having the first first ever railway would be nifty. What is this? Longnidry. Passing Longnidry station. We're now getting into the suburbs of Edinburgh. Yeah, no, that'd be pretty cool. I believe, currently that title belongs to the little route that comes with the Jupiter pack from Cheyenne to Camp Rogers. 4 trains per day each way. My God, that's like American service. Crazy to think it was ever that limited. Don't worry, just lots and lots of coal trains. To be honest, I wouldn't mind some more BR era routes. rope hauled, you say? So it's basically a low-budget funicular? Is this Preston Pans? It is Preston Pans. I'm learning things. What's that? Oh yeah, Cock and Z. Not quite a funicular, I guess, but similar. Hmm. It's kind of like, what is that? Seaview, I think it's called, for MSTS. I believe this would be Musselburgh. Oh no, it's Wallyford. Wallyford. Ah, okay, okay. Yeah, that was my thought. I don't know that I want to. I don't know that I want to trust a mile-long hover train. Speed is dropping down to 95 if I would care to pay attention. It's fine. She's not gonna come off the tracks. Diverging to the left is the connection into Miller Hill Yard. This then is Musselburgh. Yep. Go ahead and kill the speed set. We're close enough to Edinburgh. You get a little, very little bit of that in Weirdale. But obviously not enough to be significant. But yeah, that'd be pretty cool. On the left is Craig and Tinney Depot. On the right is Leith Docks. That is crazy. Ooh, coastline from LA to San Fran. That might be a bit big for the sim. That's a huge um, area to cover. That's like 300 or 400 miles. It would also probably melt most people's computers. Let it drift down to 85. This next signal should tell us if we're clear into Waverly. Lost a few frames there. Yeah, because I think Tehachapi is a little more direct than the coastline. Quite an interesting operation indeed. I think we were clear into Waverly. We are aiming for platform 9. I mean, yeah, you know, it's not like having some more American steam arrow would hurt anything. It's a 20 limit at the other end of this platform, so I'm going to let the speed drop down to that. Nine and 3/4. No, just 9. 26 miles. 1 and 78. There you go. No, not 9 and 3/4, Jessica. This isn't King's Cross. This is Edinburgh Waverly. And this is as good a place as any to stop. Very nice. And we'll set the DRA. I wish. Oh, no, that's not. Must be bound for Queen Street. Because the 380 only has, I think, Garl, Ayrshire Coast, and West. Yeah, and then, yeah, just. I think it's actually just Ayrshire Coast destination options, which is irritating. Because there's not even an Edinburgh Waverly one. Check station screens. That's probably a Helensburgh upper train before I realized. Oh no, that's Cowdenbeath. Or not Helensburgh upper, Helensburgh Central. Woo, what a run. Let's grab a cuppa. Scenario complete. What is this? One of my top and tail. Yeah, one of my top and tail 68 sets to represent Inter 7 city trains. Which are unfortunately lacking so far in the sim, but hopefully when we get like Dundee to Aberdeen, we'll get one of those. Or some such. Alright, so that was a choppy run of the whole way down part 4, but we have finally finished the whole way down quadrology. Scheduled 13:34 express to Hogwarts via Plymouth, Flint, Detroit, and track 5 behind Paramount at 12:25. Yeah, I know there's reskins for it. I think actually AP updated the enhancement pack. I think not the Valenta. Whoa! Game crashed. Detroit. Hey now. It's not that bad. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, but that's Michigan Plymouth. Of course, that is Metro Detroit. So honestly, Flint's probably the worst one on that list. And it's not like very many people would disagree with me. So, on that note, now that I've probably angered half the state that I currently live in, I am going to restart the game, and we will roll on to Scenario number 2. Game? Maybe? Hey! That's a good one, Jessica. I like that. Yeah, you certainly don't. Let's. So, we are back across the pond, running one of my favorite railroads, the Santa Fe, on Raton Pass. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, in July of 1993, a series of storms caused one of the worst series of floodings the Mississippi River had ever seen. Multiple main lines of many roads were closed due to high water and washouts. One of the worst hit was the Santa Fe, whose Chicago to Kansas City main line was washed out in northeastern Missouri. Trains detoured across the U.S., including via Denver and Raton Pass. You are in charge of a detoured 991, the Richmond to Chicago hotshot. You have stopped at Hebron for a meet and will soon be continuing over Raton. Be advised, though, as many other priority trains have also been rerouted, you will likely be stopped on the run east. Yeah, it's had tomorrow. One thing I put in the Steam description of this scenario, but apparently didn't put in the game description, is that the bridge that specifically washed out, in order to try and prevent um, ATSF return sub dispatch. ATSF 991, this is dispatch. I have PCHEL coming toward your location. Once he's in the siding, you will be cleared to proceed through return. Um, so in order to keep the bridge from washing out. Hi, crazy syrup guy. Welcome to the stream. Um, as is common practice with American railroads, they parked a cut of loaded ballast cars on the bridge to help weigh it down and try and prevent it from uh, washing away. Uh, this did not work. The section still washed out, and the force of the water was so great that I think it was 5. I think they parked on the bridge. It wasn't a very long bridge. I think of the 5 they parked on that bridge. After it washed away, they never found 2 of them, which is just crazy. Nice, nice. What ones were you watching? Yeah, the Mississippi floods of '93 are one of my favorite. I'm sure they had Spirits Code Monkey. Yeah, no, the floods of '93 are one of my favorite historical events, especially in relation to railroading. Especially since my grandparents lived for a long time not too far from the river. In fact, in the original Fort Madison, Iowa station in Fort Madison, um, they have a sign in the little museum area uh, that uh, commemorates where the high water mark was in the room. Um, the station actually now does sit lower than the main line. I think the trackbed was raised probably because of those floods, and um, it now sits probably 3 or 4 feet higher than the old station. Um, the station was relocated, I think, in 1968 is when the current one opened. Yeah, yep. I think most of Amtrak's trains were detoured over the Chicago and Northwestern because its line was pretty well unaffected. But Santa Fe trains had to detour as far as like Billings, Billings, Montana. Um, just because there was so few options. I think it's, oh shoot, it was July of '93, so I think it was like November of '93 or early '94. Trains did an entire magazine issue on the floods, which was quite interesting. Oh, that's cool, Crazy Syrup Guy. What's your normal run? 314 Glasgow Central Road. Wow, 5 feet above platform. Wow. Should have put on some power before we released. Yeah, let's stand anywhere. Okay, okay. Oh, is that why you're glad you're not working tonight? Is it snowing down there again? Come on. There we go. You're moving in the right direction. Ah! Ah! Yeah, one of my friends took off work on Sunday, so he could watch it. Ah, that's also fair. So this is the west end of Raton Pass. So this is New Mexico. We're going to pass through the actual town of Raton before we take on the pass, and we're running all the way down to Trinidad. So hopefully this goes better than the last time we tried running this route, wherein the TS Physics struck, and we were forced to, and we derailed. So. Oh, okay. Well then, congratulations if you decide to go down that path. Oh, the door does open. Nice. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this really is just a reskin of the Amtrak one. That's interesting. Yeah, no, the ring being there would definitely be an important part. Line speed is 70, but we're currently going uphill. So we're not gaining that much speed. I don't think we'll actually be able to hit 70. Hey, BNSF has a big intermodal facility right outside of Dallas, so actually so does Union Pacific, so it's not outside the realm of possibility that it could arrive. Oh, God, this livery looks so good. Out of all of the modern locomotives that they put the war bonnet scheme on, I think one of the best was on the B40-AWs. Got some stretchy couplers going on here. There you go. So if anybody's curious why our train is numbered, but the train we met was symboled, I think it was starting in 1990 or the late 80s. Santa Fe switched from its old numbering system to a symbol system, but UPS asked that the high priority intermodal trains keep their numbers. I'm not totally sure why, but they were getting enough money out of UPS that I guess they figured it was worth it. And so the Santa Fe numbering system is a little unusual because it is actually kind of um, a symbol system, just not as specific as an actual symbol. So first number indicates origin region. So Santa Fe had nine regions. I'm not going to list them all for you, but I know one was Chicago. I think 3 was Kansas City. There was one for probably East and West Texas. And then 8 was Southern California, 9 was Northern California. So since 991 originated in... so 991 is a train that originates in Northern California, in our case, Richmond. Yeah, code in my case, suppose it would have been. In our case, Richmond, and then terminates in Chicago. I hope that's not a bad thing for you, Syrup Guy. Or best case scenario, she wants to sit there and watch them with you. And then the middle number indicates train type. So 0, I think, was locals. 1 through 4 was manifests. And then 7, 8, and 9 were intermodals at varying priority levels. So 7, I think, was for like stack trains. 8 was for priority trains, and then 9 was for all the hot shots. So 991 was a Richmond to Chicago hotshot. You had the 198, which was Chicago to Los Angeles hotshot. And so it's kind of weird because most railroads, their numbering system was odd for westbound trains, even for eastbound trains. Right? I'm trying to think. 6 is the eastbound California. Yeah. But since Santa Fe's was based on region, 198 and 199 are both westbounds. Not sure how we're losing speed on a 0.2% grade. But... yeah, working VCR is surprisingly hard to come by. I mean, I know VHS is obsolete, but it hasn't been obsolete for that long. Oh, that is lucky. That's a lot of VCRs. Speed limit is dropping to 60 up ahead, but we're not even going to sniff that, so... for a high arid desert, this certainly is really nice to look at. Ah! That makes sense then. Well, I'm sure your friend can hook you up with one of those, too. limit is dropping down to 40 up ahead. That's not bad, considering some of those I think would have cost that new. If not more. Actually, I'm curious, because I noticed they have builder's plates, but are they legible? Not really. Alright. Gravity did most of the work for us there. I was right. Track and field in a football field. Or I guess a track in a football field. I saw the lights and I had a hunch that's what that was. Yep, we got baseball diamonds. We're now coming into the town of Raton. Some nets behind the end zones. That's not really standard. Of course, NFL stadiums are, big. So it's not coming out of the back, but nice, Syrup Guy. Catch a game, catch a train. Sounds like a evening well spent to me. If I remember correctly, usually they have deployable nets that they put up for field goal tries. Code Monkeys, so. The old depot here at... Depot. We're in America. The old station depot here in... I guess it's more of a station. I don't remember if this one had a Harvey house or not. I don't know if it was big enough. Or busy enough. I don't think so. It's not big enough to have had one. Because the one in Barstow had a Harvey house. That would be an idea, Jessica. It's one of the more forgotten about railroads in America, North America. I'm pretty sure it crossed the border. So. In that it operated in both Yukon and the Yukon, excuse me, and Alaska. We're on a 1.9% grade now. And the speed limit will be dropping to 20, where it will remain for most of our trip across the pass. We do have Clear Creek, Jessica, so we at least have that. Narrow gauge, North American narrow gauge is represented, however thinly. And I mean, we barely have any narrow gauge at all. There's the Corus Railway in Wales, and then I think both of the Japanese routes are a narrow gauge. Yeah, I didn't quite make it that way, but whatever. Narrow gauge was quite common for quite a while. I think pretty much up until the early 1900s. It was possible to get from California to Ohio by train, specifically on narrow gauge tracks. The craze kind of died down in the early 1900s, and most of the important ones were standard gauged. Otherwise, they were pretty much abandoned. There are a few that exist today. The Georgetown Loop operates on a stretch of the Clear Creek route. ATSF 991, this is dispatch. I'm routing you through the siding at Kyoto to meet Amtrak 3. If you move slow enough, you shouldn't have to stop on the grade. The Durango and Silverton, oh my god. Why can't I think of what it's called? Oh my god, why can't I think of what it's called? Bruh. Oh my god, I know what this... Coombe Present Toltec. Good god. Yeah, the Coombe Present Toltec. I think there's one or two others that are in existence that are still narrow gauge. But like the Rio Grande's Monarch branch, which had a limestone quarry on it, that was standard gauged. Sometime in the 1900s. Certainly by the time of dieselization, because I've seen pictures of GP7s hauling limestone trains on the Monarch branch. The Nevada Northern, I think that is still narrow gauge. Yeah, so do I, Sierra Guy. I thought they said they were going to bring multiplayer to TSW when it was announced, but I haven't heard anything about that recently. We're now on a 3% grade. We start back down to 2.5. Could be a little louder, but I do love that throaty GE growl. Although it should probably be a little louder. We are in Nache. And climbing up an almost 3% grade. Other narrow gauge lines. Oh, there's a couple of two-footers up in Maine that are preserved. That are quite interesting. So yeah, there's to wrap this up. there was quite an narrow gauge craze in the U.S. for quite a while, especially in mountainous areas because they could be built a lot cheaper and with tighter curves than you could get on a conventional railway. But mostly because they were cheaper. Yeah, I don't think there were as many, but there were a few narrow gauge British railways. Like I'm pretty sure, isn't Porthmadog in Wales? Isn't that narrow gauge too? I know Corus is obviously, and Talaclyn. Maybe it was more common in Wales. Oh, and there's one at Blenheim-Festiniog. I think I can't remember what it's called. It might just be called the Festiniog Railway. Pretty sure that's narrow gauge. And also in Wales. Now at the west end of the Kyoto siding. Doing a steady 17.1. Yeah, the only major gauge difference that I can think of is the fact that the GWR was built to, what, 7? I think? 5 or 7. Foot gauge. Because that was Brunel's preferred gauge, and then I guess he got bullied into standard gauge. Might have had something to do with grouping. My God. Yeah, no, I-25 pretty closely parallels the Raton stuff. In fact, I think this might actually be I-25 right here. Maybe. In spirit. There's quite a few interstates that, especially in the mountains, that closely parallel railroads. 4'7" and 3/4. That feels distinctly like it was made specifically so it wouldn't work with standard gauge trains. That's obnoxious. Um, but yeah, I-80 pretty closely parallels um, yeah, I-70 in the Rio Grande. I-80 parallels the Union Pacific through Weber Canyon. I think it's no Echo Canyon. I-84 parallels it through Echo Canyon or Weber Canyon. Excuse me. Um, I-80 also parallels the line over Donner Pass. Um, SP named the Los Angeles to Portland route the I-5 corridor. Um, I don't know how often those were actually parallel though. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 8090 also roughly parallels the Chicago line across Indiana and Ohio. I-10 parallels quite a bit of the Sunset route between El Paso and LA. Huh. Why didn't they just build it to standard gauge then? What's the point? Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that, Jessica, because there's also portions of I-80 in Wyoming that are built on the original transcontinental main line. I think also in parts of Utah. Back on a 3.2%. Signal has quite cleared. Passing the Southwest Chief. That I did not know. That's interesting. No, still hasn't cleared. It's a long freaking Southwest Chief. Alright. There we go. Now it's cleared. I don't know how much speed we're going to get back now, though. Oh, there we go. I really do love that livery, though. It's so 90s, but it still looks really good. I think I said this before, but the P-42 that they painted in this livery for Amtrak's 50th looks really good. It's definitely an example of a '90s aesthetic that aged well, unlike what Taco Bell used to look like. A little bit. Taco Bell really leaned hard into the '90s. God, I forgot their slogan um, used to be "Think outside the bun." I was watching a video about um, Taco Bell Super Bowl ads, and from like 2004, and it said at the end of them, "Think outside the bun." And I was like, "Oh God, that takes me back." Oh God, my parents used to quote that all the time. That one. I think that dog's dead now too. The moon needed bringing down. Um, yeah, no. Yokaro Taco Bell is before my time. Uh, but I do vaguely remember Think Outside the Bun. Uh, Now it's just Live Mas, which is it's like Das Auto for Volkswagen. Not nearly as memorable. That sounds about like something railroaders would say. Although I'm sure it was much more colorful than that. We're getting close to the summit here. Well, I meant colorful Code Monkey as in vulgar. What is it Spock says in Star Trek 4 about Captain Kirk swearing? Is it colorful metaphors? Shoot, I know it's metaphors. I can't remember if it was colorful or not. But it's just a very Spock way to say it. I also happen to love Star Trek 4. Summit! Now we get to be Now we have to be diligent and make sure we're going slow instead of it just being a given. Reduce the power here. Oh, God. Old Country Buffet. Used to love going there. Give it a little more power. Pretty sure the grades are just as intense on the north slope, so. If I remember correctly from testing this scenario, it takes quite a bit of doing to keep the train under control. Pick it up a little bit. Just a little bit. I don't want to be going too fast when we really get on the downhill. Alright. Let her go. Drift back up. Ah, here we go. State line. So we're now crossing into Colorado. Although these dash 8s do look really nice. The dash 8 40 CWs. They did a really good job on these two. I mean, they're both excellent. And of course, we have the DTM SD45-2, which is also wonderfully done. Yep, we're on a 3.1 going down. So this is probably not going to be enough braking. once the full train gets onto the grade. They're already starting to pick up speed a bit again. There we go. It seems like we got about the perfect combination. Until it gets up to a 3.8%. I feel bad that this train has to start on a freaking almost 4% grade. There's a reason the Berlin cutoff was built. Although, interestingly enough, even after the Berlin cutoff was built in, I want to say 1906 or thereabouts, Raton Pass was still the primary route for most of the passenger trains that the Santa Fe operated. I believe the Super Chief, the El Capitan, and I think the San Francisco Chief all continue to use Raton Pass. I don't think it was up until the creation. Well, no, maybe it was up until the creation of Amtrak, since the Southwest Chief still uses Raton. So I guess, interestingly enough, Raton remains a passenger corridor more so than it remains a freight corridor, in that it does not remain a freight corridor. I think Santa Fe only operated a couple of trains over it, and then BNSF used it for detours until 2003, at which point they closed it as a through route. Oh god, DTM's 645, 20 motor 645 sounds are just incredible. 20 cylinder, excuse me. Oh, I love that sound. Ease up on the dynamics a little bit. An excuse to hear that sound again. Wheel slip. Get the sander on. Reduce the dynamics. Up the air brake. Now we're speeding. Up the dynamics. Up the air brake. this is a nice part about having uh, um, working dynamic break scripting. It makes train handling a lot easier. Unfortunately, the legacy excuse me, the legacy dynamic break script is prone to causing derailments because it just generates some kind of weird in-train physics. I'm not totally sure how it works. All I know is that it doesn't work. So if you're using anything released pre-TS 2013, so it'd be the Dash 9, SC7, any of the SC70 packs, um, the SC75, anything that comes in the default American Assets pack. The SD40-2s in that come with the Peace River route. I had a hell of a time testing that scenario. Yeah, the Peace River scenario that I made, a day's work done, is probably one of the only scenarios that's definitely never going to get run on this stream. Just because I never was able to test it without having it derail, and so on the downhill stretch between Roma Junction and Peace River, I don't know if it was just because I made up the train incorrectly. It's maybe too long. Part of it is because it's the default dynamic brake scripting, so you can't use them because that causes the train to derail. So you have to constantly apply and release brakes, which I think also causes it to derail if you get a wild swing of in-train forces. And so testing that scenario was a pain because I was saving like every 5 minutes, just so if I derailed, I didn't have to completely start it over, because I don't think I ever would have actually finished it if that were the case. Which is a shame, because the climb back up towards Judah is really fun, because you're basically in Notch 8 the whole way, and you're not sure if you're going to quite make it up there. Plus, the scenario is set right at sunset, and so by the time you get down to Peace River, it's just this gorgeous like sky. That looks really great. I mean, maybe the only thing that you could probably get away with putting on there would be the travel by train SC60 or SC70, which I didn't have at the time. Which would keep it in at least the correct era, which would be current day. For something a little less current, you could swap out the SD40-2 from Yellowhead Pass. Although I don't know how well those work, I haven't used them. Or I haven't used the dynamic brakes on them, I don't think. But to be honest, I don't know that it'd be a very good streaming experience anyway. It's a bit like this, honestly, but with less AI, because it's a single track railroad. And you have to stare at a lot of trees. Here you have to stare at a lot of sagebrush. Trying to find the right balance between dynamics and air brakes and keeping the and keeping the speed as high as possible. Yeah, a lot like the West Highland. I'll be honest. I like the West Highland line. I find it really interesting. Um, but I'll be honest. I was really dreading having to make part 3 of Speedy Links. The unfortunate thing too is I would have liked to have put a meet on the West Highland Line South route, but every time I tried to, it would just or a meet in that you would have, as the player, have had to stop. But every time I tried to do that, it just kept erroring on me. So the only ones I was able to do where they're static ones are the ones right at the beginning of the scenarios. So you do like a 50-mile run and there's like 2 AI. Whereas this is like a 20, 30-mile run and there's like 3 AI. I really love these Santa Fe era signal cantilevers. They just look really nice. So we just passed through control point Gallinas, or Gallinas, I think would be the proper Spanish pronunciation. But it's America, so who knows? I'm sure it was Gallinas to the railroad people. Much like they referred to it as Abo Canyon. Even though it's definitely pronounced Abo Canyon. It's down to a 1.7% grade, but I'm not sure if it's gonna go back up. Riveting gameplay, I know. Honestly, this is what kind of bummed me out about this route. Like, I was thrilled to finally have a Santa Fe era route. But the reason I came up with this flood concept was because I realized this was going to be limited uh, traffic-wise, and therefore limiting in what you could realistically do with it. So I'm very glad now that we have Arizona Divide, because you can do a lot more with that. Which is why I really enjoyed doing Spirit of the 199. Down to 1.6 now. So leave the dynamics on, release the air brakes. More dynamics. More dynamics. A little less dynamics. Speed drift back up. Well, today it's not used at all except for the Southwest Chief once a day each way. But even in the era it's modeled, which is I think 1993. I think there was one manifest that used it per day. I think one intermodal that used it per day to serve Albuquerque, and then it didn't terminate at Albuquerque. It worked Albuquerque, and then still the Southwest Chiefs. So no, it just wasn't. Um, it just wasn't a very busy line once they built the Berlin cutoff because they were able to build because it's so steep. You know, when the ruling grade is above 3%, and your trains are getting longer and heavier, it makes it very hard to justify it as a through route. And it also is incredibly slow and would have been very expensive to double track. So when they built the Berlin cutoff, which runs from Berlin to somewhere in Kansas, forget it specifically where it meets the original line via Raton, because the Berlin cutoff is quite an extremely long piece of track because it goes all the way from Berlin through Amarillo and the Texas Panhandle through Oklahoma and up through Kansas towards Kansas City, and that's a much higher speed piece of railroading that is mostly double tracked. I think they are closing off the final bit of single tracking in Kansas this year. I think is the goal. But even when it was mostly single tracked, it was much faster because Kansas and Oklahoma and the Texas Panhandle are flat. This is not flat. And so you're able to move more trains faster. And plus, Amarillo is just a bigger population center, especially now. And actually now serves as a major junction for BNSF, but so the long-winded answer is yes, it's just not very busy. Much like the West Island line. which is also partly my concern with Shasta because the I-5 corridor, especially nowadays, isn't especially busy. I think Union Pacific only has like 5 or 6 trains a day on it, as well as the Coast Starlight. But I don't think it was ever especially busy for Southern Pacific. Southern Pacific might have had a couple more trains on it because they ran a direct Eugene to Salt Lake City train. Um, uh, that was mostly lumber traffic. But I think even then that used the Modoc line between and left at Klamath Falls, which is the northern end of the Shasta division. So can't really count that. But we'll see. We'll make it work. I'll get my hands on it eventually. And I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a perfectly fine route. I mean, it's very well done. It's an extremely historic route. But I just wonder maybe if they could have gotten a little bit more out of it, setting it in the steam era or even the steam to diesel transition area. But probably the steam era, because then you could have gotten those wickedly powerful Texas types that the Santa Fe had. As well as possibly having the 3700 class Northerns or the 2900 class Northerns. I would prefer the 2900 class just because then we could represent 2926. Yeah, can't argue with that. That's the one thing the West Highland line does have on this route. You can at least go at like 40 or 50 most of the way. But then we could have 2926 in the game, which would be nice. And it's just because I have a slight bias towards the class. The reason I'm so excited for 2926 is because my dad's so excited for 2926 to be finished and fully restored because he grew up obviously with my grandparents, and he lived not too far from the Mississippi River. And in Fort Madison, there is a preserved on static display in Riverfront Park. There is, I think it's 2913 is the one in Fort Madison, and it's been there for ages because he said growing up he always wondered what those would have looked like in service, and so he was super excited when they announced that they were, or when he found out that they were restoring 2926, which also had the distinction of being the heaviest Northerns ever built. They weighed like 500,000 pounds, which is crazy heavy for a 484. I took a picture of it last September when I was down there. Let's see if I can find it. Pictures. 21. Where's it? Yeah, pounds. Oh, there it is. Wheel slip. music's going. So if I pause it, yeah, it is 29:13. Get OBS to behave. Window capture. Photos. If I move that above, should be above game capture. Come on. Pop up. Why don't you pop up? Come on, I have it open. I can never remember how to do. No, that's the camera. Yeah, it should be. Oh wait. Oh wait, no, that's File Explorer. Why would I come up with photos? Ah, you're killing me. Seriously? Alright, what if I do something sneaky? Word. Apparently I don't have Word installed. Okay. Yeah, WordPad will work. We will get around it by doing this. Tangents aside. Now. Oop. That's not what I wanted. I can't identify WordPad as a window. Oh, there's OBS. Whoa! Whoa! Didn't want that. Oh, WordPad. There we go. Haha. So if we scroll in, there we go. How does that look? So yeah, that is 2913 at Riverside Park in Fort Madison, Iowa. This is from last September, so it's pretty recent. And up close, she's got like a lot of cobwebs over here because it's a static display. So, but I happen to be down there for family reasons, and I it's the first time I've been down there in I think it was like 7 years. So it was before I got serious about photography. So I'd never actually been down there with my DSLR because my grandparents moved um, before I got super into photography. And so this was the first time I'd been back armed with a. Yeah, she is a heckin' chungus. So I went back there armed with my DSLR and an intention to visit Fort Madison. Because growing up, I'd always wanted to railfan in Riverfront Park, and it never ended up happening. And so that was one thing I was going to check off the box because I knew it was going to be down there, and obviously I didn't know when it was going to be back. And so when I got there, the light just looked really good for photographing the train, and so I decided for myself and as well as for my dad that I would snap a nice picture of it. So that's what I did. And I can Google real quick what these things weighed. Santa Fe 2900 class. Fuel capacity. Crazy part is their maximum speed, according to Wikipedia, was 120 miles an hour. Yeah, locomotive weight. Oh yeah, the locomotive itself weighed 510,000 pounds. The tender weighed another 465, so the whole thing weighed just shy of 1,000,000 pounds altogether. So yeah, heckin' chungus. And then if I do this real quick for my own personal edification, that's a side-by-side of an eastbound intermodal and the 2913, which I decided I was going to show off because I want to. So anyway, tangent aside, let's finish this stupid scenario. So yeah, I think they were actually mixed traffic locomotives. They were built during World War II, and Santa Fe originally went to the War Production Board during World War II and said, "Hey, we want to build locomotives because we need locomotives." And the War Production Board was like, "Okay, but you need to use a pre-established design because the War Production Board didn't allow new locomotive designs to be implemented during the war because they wanted to make sure nothing unreliable was getting added that would compromise the flow of traffic to the fronts." Um, and so um, there was quite a few standard designs from various railroads that were basically pre-selected, that if you wanted locomotives of a certain kind, you had to use this railroad's design. So that's how you ended up with like because before dieselization, pretty much every railroad had a different way of designing their locomotives. So a 484 would be different from Santa Fe to Northern Pacific to the Chesapeake in Ohio, for instance, with all their own individual quirks and whatnot. Because a lot of railroads would build them in house, um, and a lot of and still more would buy them from established locomotive manufacturers like Alco, Baldwin, Lima, those kind. And so during World War II, the War Production Board was like, okay, but you can only use like these proven designs that we know work. So that's how you get like Baltimore and Ohio spec locomotives on like the Chicago Northwestern. I don't think that happened, but you get the gist. But the Santa Fe said, no, 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 we want our own design. We don't want to use someone else's. And so they went back and forth, and the War Production Board was like, fine, but you have to order 30 of them. And so there were 30 2900 class 484s built. And 6 survive today in preservation. And so one is on display at the Illinois Railway Museum in Union, 2903. 2912 is on display in Pueblo, Colorado. We just saw 2913 on display in Fort Madison. 2921 is on display in Modesto, California, and 2925 is on display at the California State Railroad Museum. And 2926, as discussed, is being restored in New Mexico. She's actually operational now. And apparently she's also on the National Register of Historic Places. Yeah, pretty much Code Monkey. Apparently, they were that heavy because there was a wartime shortage of lightweight materials, so they had to be built with standard metals. But wasn't like I'm pretty sure that was like fully loaded, at least a tender weight. So that's with all the coal and water. So it's not like it was purely 30 million pounds of steel. And also the speed limit's up to 30 now, so we're going a full third faster than we were before. Luckily, once we get to Jensen's, it's not too far to the end point at Trinidad, so. And I mean, you say that, Code Monkey, but you have to imagine they were magnificent machines. And I really hope they get 2926 out on the main line and really let her cook. Over there is the branch, I guess, to the Allen mine. New Mexico had minor coal production, although most of the coal that came over this line um, was bound for York Canyon, or bound from York Canyon, excuse me. But the Santa Fe was never an especially prolific coal hauler, mostly because it didn't really go to where the coal was, or is, as it stands. Um, Outside of York Canyon, I don't think they really had much else going for them in that regard. Burlington Northern, on the other hand, they tapped into the Powder River Basin and never looked back. Speaking of coal, it's probably bound for York Canyon. Somewhere is where the end of that one was. And look, the speed limit's going up to 45, just in time for us to not be able to take advantage of it. Passing control point Jansen. ATSF return sub dispatch. ATSF 991, I will be holding you in Trinidad for a meet with ATSF 198. Stop on the main at Trinidad Yard, clear of the crossing. The train is short enough that you'll only block one crossing for a few minutes. Off the grade now that should be good to take off the brakes. I really love these pointless stretches of like high airspeed track that you can't actually take advantage of, because it's like, yeah, the speed limit's going up to 45, but it's immediately dropping back down to 20. So like any kind of length of train, you're not going to be able to take advantage of that. And there's a couple British routes that do it too. It's not just American routes. Like I think there's a stretch on the Just Trains Newcastle to Edinburgh route where it goes up from like 105 up to 125 back down to like 115 within the stretch of like 2 miles. And it's like, well, how am I supposed to take advantage of that? It is literally pointless for me to try and get up to that speed, because I'm only going to have to slow down again. I guess you're right, Code Monkey. But pretty sure the only light engine moves you'd have on this line would probably be helper sets coming back down from the summit. But even then, those might have just stayed on all the way to Raton to help with braking, since both sides of the pass are so steep. And then just caught a train back, caught a northbound back across the pass. So. The only other thing I can think of is the Southwest Chief. Most days it wasn't especially long, so they could have taken slight advantage of it, depending on what the passenger speed limits are. But it seems altogether pointless to even have it. Is that signal? Let's get screen. We're now passing the Trinidad Station, a fairly typical Art Deco Santa Fe depot. Um, the one in Fort Madison, Iowa, looks quite similar to this one, although it's slightly bigger because Fort Madison is a crew change point. But it has this kind of same style of logo on the side of it too. That's also true, Jessica. Trinidad does have a nice little yard, I gotta say. Little freight house there. Oh, I have hoppers on the fuel side of that. Plus, you have the BN yard over there. I just realized I forgot cursor's not on screen, but in the distance, the BN yard is there. Alright. That's a long one. Technical difficulties and sidetracks about steam locomotives will do that. So yeah, this is the BN yard here. And I think actually, is it the BN depot? I'm not sure. Looks like we have a few minutes. Let's get a quick stretch. Scenario complete. Whew. All right, that is gonna do it. Before we sign off, quick programming note. There's a possibility we'll have a late start next week. I have a doctor's appointment next Friday. Nothing serious, just a routine checkup. But it is kind of late in the afternoon, and I'm not sure how long it'll take. So, indeed, Code Monkey, good shift. So, oh, you too, Pork Belly. So, shouldn't be too delayed. I would suspect no later than a 7 p.m. Eastern start. So, bear that in mind. If I'm not here at 6:30 next week, it's because I'm not ready. So, and I have to, get back home and eat dinner and all that good stuff. So, but that is going to do it for this week. As a reminder, everything you see here can be played on Steam Workshop. Link is on the homepage on Twitch, where you will also find the link. And my internet decided to give out again. There you will also, so I'll wrap this up quick. There you will also find the links to the Facebook that I sometimes use and the YouTube that I halfway updated last weekend. The Stardew Valley stream took forever to upload. So I didn't get to the rest. So I will try and get to that tomorrow. I will have to stitch this one together, due to the technical difficulties that are rearing their freaking ugly head again. So yeah, that should cover all of it. So I will see you all. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you all next week. Bye.